phone number is 209-467-4455, or you can just come on down to 231 Bedford Road. That's off the Miracle Mile, just across from Tap Plastics. And we'd love to have you come and hang out, learn some cool things, and be part of our amazing station. And with no further ado, I'm so excited to have my interview with Stephen Curr, who's the manager for PALS. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
I'm so glad to have you here. And we were just talking about how PALS is coming up on their 15-year anniversary.
Yes. Yeah. It's November, I believe, is when we of 2004 is when they received their 501c3 status from the IRS. They had been operating, obviously, doing non-fundraising things with the shelter prior to that, but that is when we were PALS actually was formed as a nonprofit rescue.
Awesome. Excellent. And for our viewers and listeners who might not be aware of PALS, let's talk about what that organization is, the work that you're doing, and what PALS stands for.
Yeah, so PALS, People Assisting Lodi Shelter, we are, a 501c3 no-kill animal rescue. We work with cats and dogs. We are set up to support the city shelter. So right now we have a facility on city property next to the Lodi Animal Shelter.
On Kettleman?
On Kettleman Lane in Lodi. Our volunteers work both sides, so we have volunteers that work with the animals that PALS has pulled over to our facility, and they also work with the animals that are still at the city shelter that are waiting for their adoption there as well. Awesome.
And when you say work with, what are some of the activities? How are you assisting the shelter? And what reason might you choose a particular animal over another to bring over to the PALS side?
Okay, so when we talk about what the volunteers do is they act as adoption counselors for people who are coming in and are interested in adopting a cat or a dog. But deeper than that, and almost as important, is the work that they do with the animals to get them ready to be adopted. A lot of these dogs and cats too have spent some time as strays. Some of them have probably been in situations where they weren't necessarily abused, but they were neglected. A lot of times you see dogs who don't receive the companionship that they need, look for an escape, and they jump a fence and go wandering, and then they end up in the shelter. So one of the things that our volunteers do that's really important is they get these dogs to trust people again. And that's really important. It helps with their social activity. It helps get them ready to be a part of a family again. We have one now. It's a little pocket pitty, what they call, by the name of Parker, who doesn't look like he's had much socialization. So we go really slow with these dogs. So it's not, you just walk up to a dog, which you should never do if you don't know the dog. You don't just walk up and start petting it, especially ones that are wary of human interaction. So we have volunteers that go into the kennels with these dogs and just sit there. They don't try to force the dog to come to them. They don't try to pet them. They let the dogs move at their own pace. And for some dogs, it doesn't take long. The dogs will come up right away and get that human interaction. For dogs like Parker, it's been a 2 or 3 weeks just to get him to the point where he will accept some form of human interaction. And they've gone with this dog from being almost shut down to now they can get a leash and collar on him. They can take him for a walk.
Awesome.
He still has work to do, but he's come so far. And that's what these volunteers do. This is, they're not, obviously they're volunteers, they're not paid. They come in earlier than what the shifts are to work with these animals, a lot of them, and they put their heart into it. And it's hard sometimes working with the dog that is so shut down, but then the reward is when you see that dog start responding. And that's what it's all about.
Awesome. And I think you guys have had videos on Facebook and things like that of some of Parker's progress and other animals that are there.
Yes.
We should back up just a little bit and let's talk about, if anyone is listening or viewing, how can they contact you? Let's give I know we mentioned Kettleman, but we didn't give a specific address. Let's list the website, Facebook, all of that.
Okay, so the address is 1405 West Kettleman Lane, again in Lodi. Our telephone number is 209-224-0354. And then our website is palslodi.org. Our email address is pals.lodi@yahoo.com. And then we are on the big three social media. So Facebook is, you can search us Pals-People Assisting Lodi Shelter, or just use the easier at Pals Lodi. It is the same for Twitter at Pals Lodi. And then Instagram is a little different. It is Pals_Lodi.
Awesome. And that's great that you're on so many social media venues, because we want people to see the amazing work that you're doing.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the exciting news with the potential opening of the new facility sometime this year.
Yes. So we don't have a firm date, but we do hope to be at Powell's Haven in some capacity. Definitely not full capacity, but in some capacity this year. There are a number of different contingencies or things that have to happen for that to happen. We have some inspections going on over the next few weeks. But we are moving forward, and it's anyone who's had the opportunity to be out there in just the last few months, there's been a true transformation.
Cool.
We are, over the summer, the dog kennels were delivered and assembled, and that, thankfully, we had a group from Sacramento that came down and volunteered their time and energy, sweat equity, as you say, to put those together, because those were pretty intense. So those are in the main dog kennel building.
All right.
And then in September, we had the cat condos delivered. So we are getting closer. I'd love to be able to say on this date, that's when we're opening. But we're getting there. It's so close.
Awesome. And I know I was so impressed. Leadership Lodi did a tour through there.
Yes.
Your facility was one of the projects we considered. It was my first choice.
Thank
Surprise,
you.
surprise. But I was so impressed with how much space and just how clean everything was. And you're on an amazing facility. You're associated with Sycamore Lane Kennels, and it's out of the city, and it's just so peaceful and tranquil, and just space.
Yeah, it's funny because a couple of the volunteers and I were just talking about this yesterday. So at our current facility, we've got the long dog run alongside Kettleman. And when we're talking, we have to often pause as traffic goes by. And we just said yesterday, as we were pausing because a couple of big rigs went by, won't it be so nice when we don't have to do that out at Powell's Haven? It's peaceful. It's very peaceful. It's going to be so much better for the dogs. And it's just an amazing facility on a great piece of land. And, we can't wait to get
so
that
awesome.
open. Yeah.
So let's just talk about some differences in the two facilities. You're at a modular on Kettleman, aren't you?
Yeah. So we had a modular, approximately 700 square feet modular donated to us by Milas Modular back in 2006. And it was great for what we were doing at the time, but we have outgrown it. Right now, all of our cat cages are full. Our dog kennels are full. We have run out of space. And anytime you have more than 2 or 3 people in the building, you're walking, over each other, and it's a difficult environment to work in, but we do make it work.
You do amazing work in that small space.
But the new facility, Powell's Haven, is a 13,000 square foot modern, state-of-the-art. I mean, we have separate laundry rooms for the cats and dogs, obviously, because they're in 2 separate buildings. We have ISO rooms, med rooms for cats, and one for dogs as well. That's on a separate ventilation system, which is key for certain things that especially like upper respiratory infections that cats and kittens are affected by, to be able to isolate them and not have them or the rest of the cats exposed to that. It will cut down on our medical expenses tremendously.
Definitely. Preemptively, just preventing the spread of disease is
yes.
huge.
Yeah. Absolutely. And just the other big thing is, again, we've got one dog yard right now that we can use that's outside the shelter. Powell's Haven has 6 exercise yards, 4 meet and greet yards, and then actually they have designed 2 additional dog runs that are on the sides of the facility with real grass, and it's just so whereas we could have maybe one big dog or sometimes a group of small dogs out at a time. Here, if we have 6 volunteers, that's 6 dogs that are getting out and getting substantial yard time, which is important for their mental health.
Definitely, and their physical health.
Yes.
And you have more space to expand. So if you want to put in more dog kennels in the future and do additional things, you can do that.
Yes. So there are several different phases to this. So obviously the first phase is to get the buildings up and take up occupancy. Our second phase is there is already partitioned off a spot right outside the main front building for a community center. One of the things that we definitely want to do is be able to bring in like a kids' day camp, have community leaders hold meetings there, kind of collaborate with other nonprofits going forward. It's a meeting space.
You could have a fundraiser there, wine and cheese.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many different things that we'll be able to do once we get out to this facility. The third phase is a fully functioning vet clinic. So obviously that's further down the road, but that's another thing that will help us eventually cut down on the medical expenses that we incur every year.
That's awesome. So right now, let's just do an across-the-board comparison. Number of animals, dogs and cats that you can have where you're currently at, and what you'll have with phase 1 at the new facility.
All right. So right now we've got 8 dog kennels. For the small dogs, obviously we can double those up. I believe right now we have 12 dogs. For cats, between the cat rooms and the cage space we have. Now, then again, if we really wanted to maximize our walking space, some of the cages that we have set up right now wouldn't be there. So we've kind of, in order to have additional cage space, we've made it more cramped for us in some respects. But we can have up to, I think it's about 55 cats before we push our limits.
Large amount. Okay.
But again, that's between the rooms, which can hold about 7 or 8 cats, and all the different cages that we have set up. At the new facility, we hope to be able to have up to 60 dogs and about 100 cats.
Awesome. All right. And that's pretty amazing because you're going to be doubling your capacity for cats and more than 5 times the number of dogs. So that's awesome. That's huge.
Yeah, and again, there is room to expand even beyond that as far as dog kennels go. Once we get to the point where the other phases of the project are done, there is land right behind the kennel building to put up another kennel.
Wonderful.
So that's another 20 dogs or so.
Wonderful. And you talked earlier that some inspections are going on that are necessary for you to open. Is there additional funding that needs to be collected for you to open?
Yes, we are still doing fundraising for Powell's Haven. Actually, our Oktoberfest event, which is coming up, which we can cover in a bit, that is going towards Powell's Haven. I don't have an exact figure for what's necessary, but yeah, the inspections are because we're out there off city, the grid, if you will, and because of the major forest fires that have gone on, we have to have wells and tanks, and the material that are used for those tanks have now been changed due to what they have learned through the forest fires. So that was an additional expense. So it's the the technical details of getting the facility up and running, but we are still taking donations for it.
All right, awesome. And is there a direct PayPal link, or how can someone that's listening or viewing donate right now?
If they go to palslodi.org, on the left-hand side, there is a link to PayPal. And you don't necessarily need a PayPal account to make a donation through PayPal. You can also do it via credit card. Or you can just stop by Pal's on Kettleman and drop off a check or cash, and we obviously give donation receipts.
Awesome. And when I was there with Leadership Lodi, you were talking about fencing. Did that get taken care of?
Yes, actually, and I can. I think we have pictures up on Facebook. If not, I can definitely put one up. The courtesy fence between Powell's Haven and the private residence next door is up.
Yay!
Yeah, and
awesome.
it looks really nice. And again, on that side, right next to the fence, is where one of the grassed-in dog yards is going. And it's just, it's a beautiful place out there. It really is.
Wonderful. Earlier, you and I were discussing about the need for volunteers. So let's talk about that. And let's talk about if there's other supplies that people can give to you that you need.
Yeah. So obviously, we're going from a small facility, even between PALS and working at the shelter, into a 13,000 square foot facility. So once we open, and if someone's interested in kind of coming on board now, that's fine. Also, we are going to need to ramp up our volunteers. We want to take advantage of the extra space that we have. So right now, on any given day, we may have about anywhere from 4 to 5 volunteers on, both at the PALS side and on shelter side. We'd probably need at least double that once we get Haven
At least,
up and running.
if not triple.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're not going to put a cap at it. There's going to be a lot for many, many people to do.
Awesome. So if someone's interested in volunteering, is there a form on your website that they fill out, or how do they apply for that?
The volunteer application that we're using right now is up on our website. We are in the process of updating all of that because one of the things that we do want to do once we get out to Haven is provide opportunities for kids to come out and volunteer, which is something that, unfortunately, because of where we are and liability reasons, we can't have anyone under 17 volunteering with us. But out at Powell's Haven, we do want to, because it's one of the hardest things is we have kids that come in and they really want to work with the animals, and we unfortunately have to tell them no. And I always tell them to check back with us and we'll let them know when Haven is open. So we're redoing all of our forms. But if you want to want to get on board right now, our form is up on our website. palslodi.org. Go to the volunteering tab, and the form is downloadable from our website. And then what they need to do is just bring it into the city shelter office, which is a white modular trailer right next to us. They currently process all of our volunteer applications.
Awesome. And do you guys do any mobile adoptions?
We have some cat condos out at Robinson's Feed, which was actually just recently bought out. But we do have some cat condos out there, and we do it every third Saturday. We bring one of our multiple adoptable dogs out there. But because we do the adoptions at PALS and at the shelter, we really don't have the capacity to do mobile adoptions as well.
Awesome. And what about your hours, your current hours, and will that be changing when you're at the new facility?
Yeah, currently we are open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 to 4. I believe we are going to change hours somewhat once we get out to Haven, but these are things that will be discussed, and obviously we'll inform the public once we get closer to actually opening the doors. So, yeah.
Awesome. And let's talk about items that people can donate, things that you're in need of all the time.
Well, obviously there are the things that we think of when we think of pet rescues, cat food and dog food. But one of the things that we actually need the most are cleaning supplies. So bleach, HE laundry detergent, paper towels, things of those natures, Clorox bleach wipes. Those things we will always gladly accept because we have some pretty rigorous, cleaning routines that go through every single day. So we go through those products quite a lot.
Right. How about like toys, bowls, leashes, collars?
Yeah, I mean, we accept donations of those kind as long as they're in good condition. And what I always tell people is sometimes we get too much of those, so we do have a secondhand thrift Wags to Riches, which is our secondhand boutique. And if people don't mind, then if we have surplus, we take it to the store and sell it there. The proceeds from the sales of the items at Wags to Riches comes back to help the animals either through medical expenses or general operating funds. So even if they're being sold through the thrift store, they are still doing good to help the animals.
That's awesome. And where is that boutique located?
It's 101 East Pine Street, so we're right to the east of the Arches.
All right. And do you know the operating hours?
I don't know those off because I
Okay.
know they're open Tuesday. I believe it's Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday and Saturday, generally from 10 to 4.
Okay.
And again, that if maybe animal isn't your forte, but you still want to be able to help out the rescue. If retail is something that you're good at or have an interest in, we always need volunteers for our Wags to Riches store as well.
Awesome. And you probably could use donations for the store as well. What kind of items does the store sell?
Gently used items. They have quite a bit of knickknacks, some collectible, dishes, gently used clothing. I know, believe it or not, not too long ago, we had about 10 wedding dresses that were up for sale. So it's a good selection of quality items at a really affordable price. And again, you're helping the animals when you shop
That's
there.
a win-win. That's
Yeah.
huge. That's awesome that you have that. And then you have several fundraising events that you do that are annual events. You mentioned that there's Oktoberfest coming up, so let's talk about that.
Yes. So we've got our third annual Oktoberfest event that's coming up October 20th. Now, the first 2 years of this event, we actually held it at Powell's Haven. But just to show how far we've come, this year there's no room at Powell's Haven to hold it because the dog kennels are in. So we're now.
That's an awesome problem.
I know, isn't it? It's great. So this year we're actually holding it at Mickey Grove Park.
Wonderful.
So
awesome.
yeah, and it's just $20. Here we have flyers up and available if you want to check out. They're
Great.
on Facebook as well.
And it's from 12 to 4.
Yeah, from 12 to 4. So there's going to be beer, wine, sausage, chips, and dessert. The first 2 years we had what we called a charity auction where we had local artists decorate or paint chairs. That went over so well that this year we're actually expanding it. It's just going to be an art object or an art auction. So we do still have local artists doing chairs, but there's also going to be pottery, jewelry, paintings, things of that nature that are available for auction. And again, proceeds from the event and from that art auction go to help finalize or finish Powell's Haven.
Awesome. And this says you can also get tickets at the Wags to Riches store.
Yes. So they're available at Powell's on Kettleman and at Wags to Riches, again at 101 East Pine Street in Lodi.
And are they available online as well?
Unfortunately, no. You have to purchase them in person.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
We're not that advanced yet.
Soon. I'm
We
sure
hope,
in the
yeah.
future that you will be. That's awesome. All right. And then other future fundraising events?
In February, we always have our very popular crab feed. When we announce that, tickets usually sell out within 2 weeks. So 2 to 3 weeks. It's an event that's probably one of my favorite because I love seafood. We always have crab, but there's also shrimp. There's usually pasta there and a salad and dessert, and it is just an amazing event. It's all you can eat. It's hard for me to imagine someone walking away from there hungry because I never do.
It's a great event.
It
I've
really
been
is.
to that before.
Yeah, and then this past year, we always try to have a late spring, early summer event to kind of kick off summer. This past year, we had a shrimp boil, which again was in June, but again, it was at Powell's Haven. This was before the kennels went in. So, it was a really good success. Everyone that attended loved that event, loved the food. It was really good. So I don't know if we're going to hold that again. I hope we do, but we may have to have it at a different location. But yeah, those are the three big fundraising events that we have throughout the year.
Awesome. And I know you've had events at different locations in downtown Lodi and other places. And fortunately, we do have other venues available. It's hard. It's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
That the shelter is so progressed in getting ready to open that you don't have that space to host an event.
And definitely not for the crab feed, because that is a big event. We wouldn't be able to hold it at Powell's Haven. But once the community center is open at Haven, we can also hold fundraising events there too.
Yes,
So,
that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk more. Earlier, you mentioned briefly some of the things that you do with animals. I know last time when you were on, we talked about fundraising for oxygen masks. And we also just this morning talked about some cases of animals that need long-term aggressive medical care. So let's talk about both of those things.
Yeah. So one of the things that is part of our mission statement is providing the best and most humane medical care for the animals that come into to our facility. Some of the things that we see on a regular basis, especially during kitten season, are upper respiratory infections. This year, this kitten season, we took on one case that was brought into the shelter that was really, really bad. It's a little kitten, a Siamese by the name of Cotton. She was about 6 weeks old when she came into the shelter. And working with them, we knew right away that she needed some extraordinary care. She had severe upper respiratory infection. She had eye infections, ear infections.
Wow.
So we got her into a foster home right away. Started aggressively caring for all three of those ailments. She is almost fully recovered.
Yay.
She's still dealing with some ear infection issues in one ear, which we're still treating. But she has made a remarkable recovery. And we can post pictures up online later on today or the next day, just so everyone can see what how bad she looked when she came in and where she is today. And it's through, the medical care that she's received, but it's also in cases like that, the love and attention that she has received from her foster mom. Sometimes that human connection,
Definitely.
that round the clock kind of attention to their needs helps pull them through.
And that kitty is not at the shelter. So we also want to go back and talk about fostering briefly, but the fact that you have someone that's able to provide care around the clock and it's not at the shelter, so we're not continuously exposed
Yes.
to other cats coming in and the noise and the stress. How many animals do you have in foster care? Because that's another great way that you can expand your ability to care for animals in your limited space.
Right now, I believe we have about 7 cats in foster care, and one dog in foster care, which we'll talk about Moose in a little bit. Hopefully I don't get too choked up because he's a really special case. But yeah, when they come in with sicknesses, one of the things that they really need is just quiet. And even under the best circumstances, which we try to provide for them, it can be noisy in a shelter. It can be noisy, people coming in, looking at the other cats. So being able to place them in a foster home, again, where it is quiet and where they do receive, the attention, the full-on attention, as opposed to the attention among 50 other cats that also need attention, is an amazing thing, and we are so thankful to have the fosters that we do. But we always do want more. So whether you are drawn towards cats or drawn towards dogs. If you're interested, this process is kind of the same. You still have to fill out a volunteer application, but then we also have a foster parent application, and one of our, usually Nancy, our director, comes out and kind of talks to the person that's interested in fostering for us, and does a home check to make sure that any animal that we foster with them is going into a safe environment. But it's, it's rewarding for the animal, but it's also, I think, very rewarding for the person that's doing it.
Oh, definitely. And that's a win-win.
Yeah.
Talk about the requirements needed to foster. So if someone viewing or listening is interested, what are things that you're looking at in a foster home? And then let's carry that over for adoption. What are things that you look at for someone that wants to adopt a dog or a cat?
Yeah, so for fostering, we look for the ability to isolate the cat from any other animals that may be in the home. So you don't have to be animal-less to foster for us. You just need to have a safe and clean environment for the animal that's being fostered, so that it's, if it comes in with an upper respiratory infection, you certainly don't want your cats exposed to that. So, that we're looking for that. We're just looking for a clean, not spotless, it's not a white glove inspection is what I tell everyone. If you've been in the military, you know what that's all about. So it's not like that, but we just want to make sure that they're going into a safe environment.
Good. And then what about for adoption? What are the requirements with that?
So for the shelter animals, the city shelter has their own adoption requirements. For PALS, again, we come out and do a home visit. For any dogs, we require some form of fenced-in yard. And, in some cases, it doesn't have to be a huge yard. If we're talking about a Chihuahua or something like that, they don't need, an acre to run on. But we want to make sure that when you let them out either to play or do what they do, that they are in a safe and secured environment and can't get out. For the larger breed dogs, we do require 6-foot fencing all the way around the yard. And again, when we come out and do our home visit, it's as much to make sure that the fence is in good condition as anything else. One of the things working with the shelter that we see all the time is, dogs that get out from their yards. And so we want to make sure that they're going into an environment where they're not going to be able to push a board, in and slide under the fence, or you don't want, we've got an acrobatic dog right now by the name of Ramses, who can jump to the top of his 6-foot kennel. You don't want to place him in a home with 4-foot fences, because he'd be back to us in a day or two.
Yes.
So those are kind of the things that we look for.
And he'd be back to you, especially with the microchip. So leads perfectly into when you adopt a pet through PALS or the shelter, what do they come with? What's included in that package?
Well, through the shelter, the microchip is optional, but they offer it, I believe it's $10 or $15. It's well worth the price.
Definitely.
And
it's their voice.
And then at PALS, we place a microchip in as a part of getting them ready for adoption. So if you adopt a cat from us, they will be up to date on their shots. Or if they are, if they're a week away from needing it, we'll make arrangements for you to bring the cat back in so that we can give them that vaccination. They have been spayed or neutered, and have been tested for FIV and FELV, which is feline AIDS and leukemia. And then with cats, because we do require that our cats be kept indoor only, we don't traditionally microchip them, although if it's requested, we definitely do. For dogs, much the same way, they have been spayed or neutered. They have received, and cats also receive rabies vaccinations. That's a requirement to license them in Lodi. So for dogs, again, spayed and neutered, rabies shots, they've been fully vaccinated with the parvo, the 4-way vaccination, as well as the bordetella. And our microchip, that is part of the package.
And rabies,
and
too?
Rabies,
Okay.
yes, for dogs, yes,
Awesome.
absolutely.
So they're both licensed also?
Yes,
Okay.
You do have to have them have rabies vaccinations in order to license in the city of Lodi, and that's kind of what, since we're in Lodi, that's what we base our requirements off of. So yeah.
Awesome. And obviously, you're working very closely with the shelter. Are there other organizations that you work with? What about the other rescues in Lodi and such?
Well, we get a lot of donations, extra donations, that we do reach out to some of the other organizations, some in Lodi, Lathrop, Galt, to help out with the donations. As far as coordinated adoptions or things like that, it's mostly through the shelter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And any organizations or companies that you want to give a shout out that help with just daily supplies or that have helped with the building of Pals Haven?
Oh, well, I mean, as far as donations go, Target and Walmart in Lodi are very generous as far as their donations go to us. I do weekly pickups for them or from them, and there's quite a good amount of supplies, cat and dog food, that comes from them on a weekly basis. And again, that's where we what we can use, we use, and what would be excess, we try to make sure that we help out other rescue organizations that maybe don't have those connections. So yeah, and then just the general public is has always been very generous as far as donations and supplies for us. Almost every day we have someone come through offering to either bring in some cat or dog food or some cleaning supplies or something of that nature.
Awesome. And any hardware stores that have donated to construction at Pals?
I'm not really too involved in the construction side, so I don't want to single anyone out because I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I know that they're, obviously, Pals Haven wouldn't be where it is without the support of the community. So we do appreciate it.
And it's awesome to me that this transformation that has happened over several years' time is finally going to come to fruition sometime this year. That's really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been with Pals just a little over 5 years now, and I remember when I first came on board, one of the things first things I did was Nancy had me go out to the site and take pictures, and so I saw when they broke ground and had just the stakes marked out, and so to see it go from that to these massive buildings that are, just they're beautiful, and it's such an amazing setting. But just thinking about what we're going to be able to do inside those buildings, what we're going to be able to do for the animals is amazing to see too. And Nancy probably wouldn't be front and center here, but she has worked tirelessly to this. Was her dream. This was her baby, along with Donis Bradshaw, who was the other co-founder. But Nancy has been spearheading this, and she, as a director, takes no salary.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah. That's very unusual.
It is, and I mean, Pals, we are about 95% volunteer based. So I am the only full-time employee as a manager. Everyone else is volunteers their time.
That's pretty amazing. That's phenomenal because most not-for-profits, especially animal-related, are not run that way.
Right. Yeah.
That's huge. And really, it's amazing how much you guys have done in a relatively short amount of time. And I was just so impressed when I walked through that you want it. It's very obvious that everyone that's been a part of this wants it to be a quality facility. Anyone can have just a building, but you really have taken into account medically what will be best to protect the animals. And you talked about the isolated airways for both cats and dogs in the medical room, and just space and ability to work and just comfort for the animals. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, between for the dogs, the multiple dog runs is huge. As we talked about earlier, we have volunteers that come in again early on their shifts just to make sure that every dog in the shelter and at Pals gets some time outside. And we don't, if you're not a part of it, you don't realize exactly what that means. 30 to 40 dogs getting 15 to 20 minutes out in the yard every day. That is a lot of work. A lot of people, yes. And on top of that, still being able to show animals for people to come in and want to adopt.
And the cleaning that goes along with that, because obviously things will happen when they go outside.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes it kind of feels like cleaning is the thing that we do throughout the day, every day. We have kennel aides that come in and clean from 8:30 to 11, and then volunteers usually in the afternoon, and our cleaning in the afternoon starts at 2. But then in between 11 and 2, we're cleaning as necessary. So, we take pride in the cleanliness of our facility. It's something that we do throughout the day. But I do want to go back because one of the things that is really important for me to share with people when we talk about Powell's Haven broke ground in 2014, and it's 2019, and we're just getting ready to open. A lot of the reason why is we are doing this completely debt-free. So when you think about a small organization like Powell's, we have raised almost $1.5 million is what the facility, what will have been put into the facility by the time phase 1 is open. So to do that, and to continue our operations, our day-to-day operations, caring for the animals in the community of Lodi is an amazing thing in of itself, but it's also the sustainability of the organization. So it wouldn't do us much good to take out loans and lines of credit to get this done, and then we're scrambling to make loan payments and make interest payments. Doing it this way ensures the sustainability of our organization, that we can still continue to focus on what we were set up to focus on, which is the welfare of the animals in our community. So through fundraisers, through private donations, estates, we've been able to, again, raise almost $1.5 million for this facility. And I think it's just an amazing testament to the hard work of the organization and the support that we have from the community.
And that's awesome. That's huge. You mentioned the 2 people that are the founders, but what about your board? Do you have a board?
We do have a board of directors. And so Nancy, obviously the director, we have, I believe it's 5 board members. Some of them also work as volunteers at Powell's.
Awesome.
There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that they do. I know that they always get roped into donating towards fundraisers and things of that. But, one of the things that I think is great about this organization is these are people that donate their time and their energy, and they love animals. If they volunteer for Powell's, they either have animals of their own, or they're in a situation where they can't quite have animals. Some of our younger volunteers I know still live at home, but they have a passion for helping animals, and that's why they do what they do.
Awesome. And right now, prior to the opening of Haven, if someone's viewing or listening, are they able to come out and have a tour?
Yeah. Right now, with the work and the inspections going on, I'm not sure what that is. But if they want to email me, I will certainly pass that on to the director, to Nancy, and see what the availability is. We love kind of showing off. I mean, it's a tremendous facility. So we would definitely work to be able to do that, yes.
And how do they reach you? By email?
By email, pals.lodi@yahoo.com.
Awesome. And I know we don't know an exact grand opening date, but are you planning an event around the grand opening, or a ribbon cutting, something like that?
I'm sure we will do something like that. And I'm not trying to be vague. It's like there are so many different moving parts to get this ready, that the focus of the organization is getting to the point where we can sit down and say, okay, so we're ready. Let's plan this event. Obviously, because the community has been such a big part of getting Haven to where we are, we definitely want to, invite them when the time is right. And so, yeah, definitely keep an eye on our community pages and our website. And when the time is right to announce that, then we definitely will.
Awesome. And in closing, let's just review all of your contact information. So let's give address, phone numbers, website, all of that.
Okay. Yeah, so the address is 1405 West Kettleman Lane. That's in Lodi. You can reach us by phone at 209-224-0354. You can email us at pals.lodi@yahoo.com. And again, we are on Facebook and Twitter at palslodi. And on Instagram is pals_Lodi.
And your web address?
Palslodi.org.
Wonderful. And on the web address, you talked about you can find an application for being a volunteer. And is there a list of wants on that page also?
Yes. On the donations tab, there is our wish list. It includes the foods that we currently use as well as all the cleaning supplies.
Wonderful. Awesome. And anything that you'd like to add that we haven't talked about?
Yeah. Again, as we move towards Pals Haven opening, we do still have some extraordinary medical expense cases, including a 2-year-old German Shepherd by the name of Moose, who is my guy, who is, despite his young age, unfortunately going through heart failure right now. His medication runs about $300 to $350 a month. As we talked earlier about cotton with the upper respiratory infection. Obviously, Moose is a case that we don't deal with often, but we do have several other cats that are either being treated for diabetes or for irritable bowel disorder, things of those natures that the medical expenses do add up. So if you'd like to donate towards our medical fund, again, you can go to palslodi.org, click on the donate button and donate through PayPal, and of course we would really appreciate that.
And so you mentioned donating to the medical fund. So when someone donates, can they target it towards the medical fund or towards construction of the new building?
Yes, absolutely. So just in the notes area of the PayPal donation page, you can earmark it for I think we have a general fund for day-to-day operations. We have the Extraordinary Medical Fund, and then we have the capital campaign for Pals Haven. And your money goes where you want it to. So, if your passion is to make sure that Pals Haven opens as soon as possible and you want to make a donation towards Pals Haven, that's where that donation goes.
Wonderful. Awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. It's amazing to me, all of the volunteers and all the effort and the fact that this building is finally coming to fruition. It's very exciting. And yes, some people might look at it that it's taken a little while, but like you said, you're going to be debt free. And again, it's not just your average building. It's an amazing facility. And I'm so excited that it's finally going to be opened and you're going to have phase 1 and that you have the potential for other phases after this so that you can do more and more to help more animals.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about is when we looked at what we could do to help more animals, we knew that we had outgrown the space that we were in. And 5 years is some time to get a building going. But again, I think the fact that we're going to be able to sustain this for years and decades to come is the most important factor there.
And earlier, you mentioned dogs and cats. Any plan to have exotic animals there if those are brought to the shelter?
I don't believe so. Okay. I don't know. But if someone comes in, like currently, if someone would come in with a snake or something like that to the shelter does reach out to rescue organizations that deal specifically with those type of animals. For us, cats and dogs it's a lot to take on. So
it's a lot to take on.
I don't know that we would ever move into the exotics, but there are certainly rescues that we can put people in touch with that do.
Awesome. Wonderful. And anything else that you'd like to add?
Just I'd like to thank obviously the director, for Nancy, for all her hard work, the board of directors, the volunteers and the cleaning kennel aides that come in every day and do what they do. Sometimes it's behind the scenes. It can often be frustrating and heartbreaking, but it can also be uplifting. So I'd like to thank them for all that they do and putting themselves out there for the animals.
Awesome. Very well said. And to me, I'm just so impressed that it's all volunteer. That's magnificent. That's huge. And I'm again, I'm just excited that the grand opening will be happening soon.
Yeah, I can't wait. We can't wait. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for everyone connected with PALS. Just an amazing organization. And with that,